In this tutorial, we will be taking a look at how to balance out skin tones between our two subjects that are in a photograph. As you can see in the photograph here, pictured in PhotoPaint, I have two individuals here. One has darker skin than the other. This can cause some issues when I'm trying to laser engrave this photograph into certain materials. For this reason, sometimes what I'll want to do is I will try to make their skin tones a little bit more even so that when I use a certain power and speed, I get both images, both people in the image looking good. Again, some people don't like the fact that we are balancing the skin tones, but I think overall the fact that we're going to get a better looking finished product will negate any issues as far as the balancing out of the skin tones. When I'm working on a photograph, the first thing I like to do is convert that photograph to grayscale. The laser machine can only process grayscale, so there's really no sense working in color. For me, it's a lot easier to see the light areas versus dark areas when everything's in gray as opposed to being in color. So let's go to Image, Convert to Grayscale, just use the defaults, say OK. And here's my image converted to gray. The tool I'm going to use is called the Dodge and Burn tool. Dodge meaning I can lighten parts of the image up, or burn, I can darken the images up, parts of the images up. That tool is found in the toolbox here underneath the paint icon, and if I hold the left mouse button down and I let my flyout come open, you'll notice here I have the effect command. Now I can use the hotkey capital V and that'll open up the effect tool, but I'll just select the effect here, and notice on my property bar I now have Dodge and Burn. Now there's a couple of features in the property bar. I can use this. Right now I'm using a round nib, and if I bring it out on the photograph you can see it's round. I can also select this and use square. I'm going to use round. This is the size of my nib. I've got different sizes that I want to use. If I use a real big one, I'm using 50 right now, but I can go up to something like 100, and now I have something very large. We'll use the 50 for now, and we'll see how it goes. Again, there's a couple of other commands here. I'm not really going to worry about those right now for what I'm doing. So let's say, for example, that I want to lighten this gentleman up here to be a little bit more consistent with the girl on the left here. So I'm going to select Dodge the highlights. Again, you notice here I've got highlights, midtones, or shadows. In this case, I want to lighten up the highlights to make the image a little bit lighter. Again, I'll use highlights and then I'll use midtones. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to hold the left mouse button down and do not release the left mouse button down until we finish the whole image. So again, I'm just going to paint along here, and if I used a larger brush I could do a little bit of a faster job. Again, try to stay within the confines of the skin tone just so that you're not lightening up any other areas. And I'm holding down the left mouse button down, not releasing it. The reason I'm doing that is because when I paint across the image, it's only going to paint once. If I constantly let go of the mouse and re-engage it, I'm going to be constantly lightening up the area, and I won't get a consistent lightening up. So again, I'm just going to go right across here. Notice how he's sort of lightened up now, and it's really only the highlights, so it's really only the areas that are closer to white that are being lightened up right now. Once I'm done, release the mouse and you're done. Now you can see that he's starting to get a little bit more lighter in my areas that I like to highlight, which again are the cheekbones, the nose, the forehead, and the chin. Again, you can see the female on the side, same thing. This will create some good contrast between the dark areas and the white areas and allow the face to stand out, which isn't so much of an issue when we're working on anodized aluminum, but when we're on granite or on wood, I like to make these areas a lot more pronounced. So now let's go up and let's select the midtones, and we're just going to lighten up the area, and you can see he's starting to lighten up pretty good. I'm just going to make sure we get all the areas. Don't worry about going over the areas. As long as the left mouse button is down, we're only going to do it once. And you can see that the area is he's starting to lighten up. So I'll let go, and I'm going to re-click again, and notice that he's getting lighter and lighter. And now he's getting a lot closer in terms of skin tone to the girl. So there's one, and maybe we might need to do an extra area, an extra pass. Just make sure we get everything out there. We don't want any, if we don't get we don't get a nice consistent dodge, then what will happen is we'll get some lines in the image. So let's do a third pass here with the midtones. So again, I'm going to hold the left mouse button down, and I'm going to drag across the image. Try to get the whole image in. You can see how it's changing. It's becoming lighter. And he's becoming a lot more consistent with the girl that's on the left. So let's say we're getting a little bit closer here now to our skin tones. He's still a little bit darker than her, but maybe this actually might work a little bit better. So there's our image right there. Now we have a little bit more consistent as far as the skin tones go from left to right. The beauty about this is that now I can just, the problem sometimes is if you have a face that's dark and you have another face that's light, then typically what happens is you try to use one power and speed, and the light gets blown out, and the dark isn't lasered enough. So when you've got a more consistent skin tone, then when you're using, you can use just one power and speed, and you'll get a lot better looking image when you're done. Now again, if I want, I could just, let's undo all this. Undo, 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 undo. And let's say, for example, that we want to make her closer to him. So what I can do with her, again, is I can just come down into the burn, and I can say burn midtones. And what I can do with the midtones now is I can actually darken her up. And you can see her starting to darken up. And I can sort of recreate what we were doing. And again, problem with darkening her up now is I've got to do, her face and her body, so it takes a little bit more work. Again, if you want, you can go to a bit of a wider brush, but again, you have to be careful because you could hit some surrounding areas that maybe you don't want to adjust. Again, just make sure that we're getting all the areas that need to get done. And again, maybe we want to go to, maybe we can try burning the shadows, and you can see again the shadow parts, which are the darker parts of the image, are starting to come up. So again, you might find that you may actually maybe lighten him up a little bit and maybe darken her up a little bit, just to be a little bit more consistent in the image. Again, maybe we don't want to push her as far as dark as he is, and maybe we want to make him a little bit lighter so that we have some more consistency. And I'm just holding the left mouse button down, not releasing it, trying to get some consistencies. In my image. And again, if I want, I could come back and say, well, let's dodge the midtones on this gentleman here, and let's make him a little bit lighter. And now we're going to have a little bit more of a consistent image as far as the colors go. Sure we get his ear. And there we go. We're starting to get some more consistent color between the two individuals. So again, this is a very good technique for quickly making sure that the skin tones in both our individuals are a little bit more consistent. I can remember when I was doing a piece of black granite for a friend of mine, and he's Filipino and his wife is is European, and it was very hard to get a good looking image because he was so dark versus her. So I ended up lightening him up a little bit and darkening her up a little bit, and I got a lot better looking finished product than I would have had if I had left the photo just by itself. Once you're done, then all you need to do is just save the CPT file. I like to save the CPT file in the photo paint. So File, Save As. Make sure it's as a CPT photo paint image, and then say test or whatever you want to use. Save, and then you can import that file into CorelDRAW, that photo paint file. In this example, you'll see that I've got a piece of anodized aluminum. The image on the left has not had any adjustment done via the dodge and burn, and you'll notice that you can see the difference in the skin tones. The image on the right has been adjusted so the skin tones are more similar. I know the image looks a little bit blown out on the right, but it's really here to sort of show the extremes so that you can get an idea exactly how the dodge and burn works together. Here's a lasered sample of the same photo where I darkened the girl's skin up and I've lightened the gentleman's skin up. So now their skin tones are a lot more equal in terms of the color. Here's a good example of a piece of black granite where the gentleman's shirt and his hat need to be lightened up so you can see them when you laser engrave them on the granite. You can see here by the final image a big dramatic increase in the ability to see the person and the shirt they're wearing and the hat. If I didn't have the dodge and burn command, this wouldn't look very good.